I hereby call to order the special meeting of the Danbury Board of Education. Will all those in attendance please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The purpose of this special meeting is to interview candidates for the vacancy on the Danbury Board of Education. The chair seeks a motion to move to executive session. Moved by Mrs. Cooper, seconded by Mr. Taversat. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimously. The board is now in executive session. It shouldn't be too long. Thank you. The board is returning to public session. The chair will pass the gavel.
That the chair seeks a motion regarding the appointment.
I move that the board appoint Gary Falkenthal to the Board of Education to fill the vacancy created by the resignation of Keith Gaylord.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No.
No.
Motion carries. Motion's defeated.
Thank you, Mr. Falkenthal, for coming out. Unfortunately, the board did not confirm your appointment, but thank you very much for your interest in the position. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair seeks a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Cooper,
Second it.
seconded by Mrs. Alberts. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? The motion carries. This special meeting is adjourned. Board of Education, will all those present please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In our recognition section this evening, we'd like to welcome Domitilla Pereira. She's our new DHS Assistant Principal. So we'd like to, she's still here in the audience, and we'd like to welcome her. Thank you very much. We're now into public participation. The board welcomes public participation and asks the speakers please limit their comments to 3 minutes. Speakers may offer objective comments of school operations and programs that concern them. The board will not permit any expression of personal complaints or defamatory comments about Board of Education personnel and students, or against any person connected with the Danbury Public School System. Is there anyone in the gallery that wishes to address the board this evening? Sir?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Mark King. I'm a resident of Danbury and the father of 6-year-old David King, who's a first grader at Pembroke. We've had a running issue with our desire to change the bus stop, which meets about 50 yards below our house. I've talked with Mr. Longo repeatedly. He has engaged with me and has done a site inspection. I cited specifically 3 criteria from your own transportation guidelines on what constitutes a hazard. Specifically A3, no traffic lights or stop signs at the bus stop. B1, there is no walkway on either side of the road. 2A, line of sight issues. There are large trees, shrubs on this winding hilly road. I think these are fairly objective criteria, and basically what I got was I didn't come to the same conclusions. I've had nothing in writing. So the reality is my wife and I leave work at 6:30. We have a 1-year-old. Our babysitter cannot constantly wait there for 45, sometimes half an hour, 40 minutes for the bus to come or to drop them off. It is a minimal requirement to have the bus stop, which my son is the only 6-year-old, and that's another issue in the transportation guidelines concerning what constitutes a hazard. The fact that he's under the age of 8, he can't. We can't leave him there by himself. So we've just been trying to do that. There has been a compromise. The bus is now coming up there to our house, but they're only going to do that until November 1st. And then they will reinstitute again sometime in May, they said, or April. And this, I feel, is very unacceptable. And I'm just wondering if you follow your own transportation guidelines, because I think it's fairly obvious. It's putting the safety of both my sons in jeopardy. And I was hoping to request a further hearing or something, because it's become a running issue for us, and that's essentially it. So thank you for your time. And I am planning, because I do think our request is reasonable. I'm going to be going to some local meeting. I just want to get this looked at fairly, because I think it's a very reasonable request. And this is a copy of a letter that I sent to Mr. Longo, and he has responded, but still, I haven't got anything in writing, and the compromise is still, I don't think, adequate enough, because sometimes we wait an hour, and I talked with the manager of the bus company, and it's just, I know they have high turnover rate, but still the safety of my 2 sons, I think, is fairly important to me. And again, I've cited 4 different criteria in your own transportation guidelines, and I just still don't feel like it's been adequately addressed. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. King, for your participation. Anyone further wish to address the board this evening? Seeing none, public participation is now closed. Move on to the consent calendar. Chair seeks a motion regarding the consent calendar.
That the Board of Education approve the items on the consent calendar as recommended in exhibits 11-174 to and including 11-175.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Cooper. Any discussion on the consent calendar? I just want to recognize Charlotte Wisniewski, who's retiring after 26 years at Danbury High School. I'd like to wish her well in her retirement. Any further discussion on the consent calendar? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimously. Is there an employee representative here this evening? No. Student representative, welcome. We're sorry for the delay, but your turn. You got the floor. Please identify yourself.
My name is Vanessa Grant, and I am the representative for the Alternative Center for Excellence. I would like to introduce Brandon Mikowski as the other representative for ACE. Every year, the students and staff participate in a school-wide team building activity, which we accomplished last week. This year, we chose Swans Pond, and us students contributed by engaging in trust-building activities, such as our well-known Trust It. Our highlight, besides having Stu Leonard's cater pizza and cookies for lunch, was the attendance of our students and staff, which was 100%. Another highlight from last year was our scores as a school. The Alternative Center for Excellence had an amazing 87.4 efficiency on the CAP reading test. Also, every year, the Women's Center for Greater Danbury coordinates a walk against domestic violence. I strongly encourage everyone who has the time to register now and enjoy this Sunday walking for a great cause or simply being there for emotional support. I have spoken with our principal about registering ACE as a team for the annual 4K walk, which is a great opportunity to represent my school, so that's in the works.
Hello, I am Brandon. I'm the other representative of ACE. For my first objective, I would like to discuss about our first field trip coming up in the second week of October, which is our canoeing trip, which is going to be at the Delaware River. It should take us about 3 days. It's a 25-mile long river that we're going to go canoeing down. And this will be the first trip of the semester. Also, we have a field trip that's going to be a cold weather trip that we are going to go
What kind of trip?
Mountain. It's a cold weather trip.
Cold weather? Would you like some media to follow you along? In the
I hope it's good. It's slow this year.
Not this year.
Great photos.
So that's another one of our trips that is coming up this year that we are still planning. We don't know the sure date when it's happening. And also between the students setting personal goals for the semester and the focus of seniors putting into our work, the school year is off to a great start. Also this year, a lot of us previous seniors are trying to show the new students the way to go. And that's all I have.
Okay, well, Vanessa and Brandon, I want to thank you for representing ACE this evening. Just to let you know, I had a meeting with the DHS representatives who I don't think they could be here tonight because of the date change. But I had a meeting with them last week, and I'll let you know what I spoke to them about, which is, I encourage you, and I've said this in previous meetings, if there are issues that are on the agenda or that you think should be on the agenda on policy or other issues that affect students such as at ACE or Danbury High School, we encourage you to take those messages into the school and for you to represent. You're the representatives of the student body. So if there are issues that you have opinions on, feel free to represent those when you come to the meetings. So try to encourage the student representatives to be actively involved this year. But we look forward to seeing you throughout the school year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Move on to our action items for this evening. The chair seeks a motion regarding action item A.
That the Board of Education approve the education specification for DHS school window and door replacement, energy conservation, and ACM abatement project, 11-1-76.
Seconded by Mrs. Molinaro. Any discussion on action item A? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimously. Chair seeks a motion regarding action item B.
The Board of Education approve the 2011-2012 stadium fees.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Tepersek. Discussion on action item B.
We had, last night we had a finance meeting to discuss the fees. It was presented to us. The people at the finance committee, those of us at the finance committee, thought the structure was adequate. It gives us the opportunity to utilize this enterprise fund as a profit maker. The fees are competitive with what's around us, and also Danbury our fees have to at least incorporate trying to recoup some of the cost on repairs and maintenance that we have to feel that was just put in for us and and actually paid for by the city. So I'm in favor of this, and the recommendation was last night that we recommended to the board for acceptance.
Any further discussion on action item B? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention?
Here.
Mrs. Alberts abstains. Otherwise, the motion carries unanimously. The chair seeks a motion regarding action item C.
That the Board of Education approve the addition of 1.4 FTE due to enrollment increase.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Cooper. Discussion on action item C.
Go ahead.
Mrs. Cooper.
My question to Dr. Sapp, these two people are two people?
It's one person in parts of others, section, particularly for example, at the high school, there's one section as an overload in 2 or 3 departments,
Okay.
is the way that works. To note too, this is over the 8 that you approved in the budget.
Okay.
Remember, we had 8 in there?
Right.
So those we hired, and then we thought this was gonna be more. You may recall we met in July, but things kind of shifted, so it's 1.4. Bill, you might need to define where the 1.4 is, so that would be helpful.
Sure.
Blackboard, okay.
Very quickly running through, at the kindergarten through 5th grade level, we added 4.5 teachers for enrollment issues and a 0.2 teacher for music because we had increased classes. So we have 4.7 there. At 6th through 8th grade, 2.5, 2 teachers with Mrs. Joe came for STEM and a 0.5 ELL teacher, bilingual teacher. And then for 9-12, we added 2 teachers originally for chemistry because of the labs, and through moving around at the high school, it still equated to a +2 FTE, and we added another 0.2 in part because of Mrs. Pereira's promotion. We needed a 0.2 bio. We also, because of enrollment, out of the numbers we gave the high school, 0.2 additional bio, 0.2 bilingual math, and 0.2 bilingual social studies. So all total, we added 9.4, and our budget number was 8. So we feel good about that because we're very, very close to our predictions.
Mrs. Cooper.
Mr. Chairman, I guess my final question would be, will this person be stationary at one school, or would they have to be from over one school to the other?
Well, there's no itinerant here, correct? I mean, except the special teacher in physical education.
Music teacher.
The music teacher will go from school to school, but the extra sections at the high school will be an overload.
Okay.
And that'll be current teachers that are teaching. They'll just pick up, instead of having 5 classes, they'll do 6. I believe there's 2 of those. That's the way we did that. And then the other ones are stationed at Rogers Park, correct? Right? So there's no itinerant other than music.
Okay, thank you for giving it up.
Mr. Ginelli.
Question not directly on this, but sort of a sidebar question. The enrollment, I know it's not official until October, but I know every day you have numbers. As of today, are we still progressing in the increase, and if so, approximately how much? How does it compare to what you thought it may?
We didn't get a sweep today, but the enrollment numbers have been steadily increasing. They have tapered off. Typically, differently, historically, once Labor Day comes, that's when the numbers really start to skyrocket if they are going to, and they went up significantly this year. But now as we come close to the end of the month, they're stabilizing. I think in talking with all the principals, with the exception of the FTEs that we added tonight through the board action just now, we're in good shape across the district in terms of staffing. We feel comfortable right now that the elementary structure, although there are some good-sized classes of 27 in a number of the schools. We're talking with the principals, these are upper grade, 3rd grade classes, 5th grade classes. The principals want to hold on to their students because they're already vested in the building. At the middle and high school level, we can feel the tightness as we can at the elementary level, but we're not over contract. We're very close. At Broadview, we're up to a cluster of 130. Recommended target's 125. We're monitoring that very closely. I know Mrs. Joe King and Mr. Robs are working back and forth. There is room at the 6th grade level at Rogers Park, not at Broadview. There's, I'm sorry, it's the opposite. There's room at the 6th grade level at Rogers Park, and there's no, but not just, and there's room at 7th and 8th grade for staff. Right, so we're looking at that balance between the two. And at the high school, we've pretty much stabilized, I believe, to next level. We're pretty stable at the high school right now. This, as you know, this will continue to ebb and flow throughout the entire school year, and we'll lock it in by the state's standard that says by October 1, your enrollment numbers become official. That becomes our official number. So we work till October 1 very closely with the board. After October 1, then it becomes more transparent, and we work at the school level, moving kids from point A to point B if we have to.
Are there any schools that increase, that sort of surprised you, where you saw an increase where you hadn't anticipated it?
North Street had our biggest jump, roughly 100 students. And that precipitated that .2 that we just added for music. And as I've met with Mr. Santicero, it's across the board, it's not just incoming kindergartners. We've had an influx at many of the grade levels. It's a neighborhood school. Probably folks are just moving into that particular community. And so if any of the schools have significant overcrowding conditions, Moore Street has become the school. We've been talking about Stanley Rough, but it's really Moore Street right now, and then to some lesser degree, Mill Ridge, which we anticipated as well.
Thank you.
Third grade is our largest, and first grades are challenging. But just for the board, because you may hear this, over at Broadview, you may recall that I said we may have to close enrollment. Talked to Mr. Robbs yesterday, and I was communicating with Ms. Joe Queen. Right now, we have just a few more seats left in 6th grade. One of the clusters is pushing the top limit. And if it gets to that amount, we'll start sending them over to Rogers Park until she fills up, and then they'll remain at Broadview. We'll have to figure out how to, it's difficult to run because they run by cluster in teams in terms of balancing. It's not like at the elementary K-5 where we had class, much different. So we're trying to work on that. The kindergarten, Shelter Rock did raise in 3rd grade, and we did move some students over to Mrs. Smith's building, correct? And then we did do that. So in those cases, not as many as we anticipated, a lot less, but that is happening. It produces challenges for busing for us, because once we do that, we bus the students over.
One question on the motion is that, does this necessitate a budget transfer from some other line, given our budget is fixed? Or would we possibly find some efficiency through vacant positions or other to be able to cover this?
No, I don't have to pick that big to find anything out of the budget, so I think what we'll have to do is, when he starts reconciling the books, then there's some flexibility, because as you know, when we budget with everyone that we hire will have benefits, and that doesn't always happen. And sometimes it shakes to our benefits of our behalf, so we look at that. But those economies we'll look at as he starts verifying the enrollments and we verifying the staff, and then we'll have to make an adjustment. But in talking to him, we're fine. Yeah.
Any further discussion on action item C? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimously. We're up to the superintendent's report, Dr. Pascal.
Okay, I'd like to begin with the automated substitute placement and absence management system. You may recall that last year, when we were meeting with folks for budget efficiencies, these were suggestions we had gotten in the spring. And Kim looked into it, and districts around us were doing it. We went and visited, and she spoke to their folks, and we implemented this year. And I'll have Kim talk about it.
Yeah, thank you. We, over the summer, I think I reported to you at a variety of meetings that we had implemented this automated system, which not only helps us to fill absences with substitute teachers and some other positions like secretarial and parent or tutor positions, but also that we are using it as a manner of tracking the available number of days that people might have. So in other words, if you start with 10 vacation days and you use them, the system automatically takes down the number of days as you use them. And then weekly we print out reports, which at the moment we're going to work in a hard copy with payroll, but the goal is by January to also automate that piece so that the information will ultimately push to payroll. Right now, it looks like our yearly invoice is going to come in well under what we had paid our person who had been working as our substitute finder. And so we're sort of getting extra bang for the buck here because we've also got this system that has taken a lot of the burden off of other employees, like, for example, Betty Anderson, who shares finance roles and HR roles and was doing all of those tallies by hand through our system. It's now automated, so it's been helping with some efficiencies that way. The place where we're looking really to capture some savings comes with tracking the attendance of employees. And I'll circulate, just so that you can see them, what the system is capable of doing is a general weekly report. What it does is it tracks for us in a quick look, which we've been taking to cabinet every week, the number of absences across the district. And we're now starting to refine the kinds of reports that we get so that we can track absence trends and fill rates with our subs. So that's the place where ASOP feels that we have the most additional income to capture, basically. That's the place where by becoming more efficient, we intend to save some additional money. So right now, from a nuts and bolts finance perspective, we're definitely ahead of the game. The hope is that we'll be considerably ahead of the game as we start to identify places where we've got some real absentee problems, and we can tune those up accordingly. The feedback I've gotten from the building-based level has been good. Secretaries have, again, the same kind of responsibilities they had before for helping to shepherd through absences and needs for vacancies. So they're essentially doing exactly what they did before, only much more efficiently because they now have this new tool that we've given them. Just to give you some idea of nuts and bolts of how it's working, what we do typically out of the HR office is early in the morning, we have someone in my office who looks at the computer screen to see what vacancies are still available or not filled. She has had times, say, 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning, where she can watch the screen, see a teacher put in an absence, and then see a substitute pick up the absence and take it. And so what's happening is not only are we filling things with greater efficiency, but we're also drawing and attracting substitutes who are eager for work, who are anxious to get into the buildings. A residual benefit of having gone through this process is that the sub list now is a lot different from what it was in years past. It's full of certified teachers. We're able to track them by skill set. So in other words, we can track who's certified in biology and try to get a biology teacher to someone in high school. Again, it's all automated, so it all works for us. So as what I plan to do is come back and see you and report again in another couple of months on how it's working. But right now, it seems to me that the efficiencies have been great. And as people start to use more sophisticated levels of the system at the building level, we're going to see greater efficiency in terms of building administrators being able to see where their folks are, what their attendance is like, and whether or not we're filling their positions with appropriate people. So I'm very optimistic that we're moving in the right direction. And I think for the most part that the implementation was well received by folks in the buildings, and they seem to embrace it and have been using it. So we're trying now to also use it as a tool to increase the number of subs we have in areas where we've traditionally been low, like in the tutor area. So we're starting to attract more people to postings for those sub jobs and then putting them into the pool as well. So it really has changed a lot of the way we do business, and I think has made us certainly more efficient, more cost effective, and hopefully by this time next year we'll see tremendously more cost effective as we get some experience with the numbers.
Just for the board's edification, those numbers, we're trying to refine them and disaggregate them better. There's not just teachers in there in terms of the and it doesn't necessarily mean that they're absent. We do a lot of in-building work with professional development and what have you, but it does allow us to trend and look at our attendance pattern. Some of the things that we've been very careful to do is because our in-service may pull too many people out. If you look at the red in those charts, uncovered is very costly to the district. We'll pay a sub $90, and the way we have it, if we have to do an in-building sub, it cost us almost twice that amount. You know, so it's just not very efficient, and that's down, so it helps us with our strategic planning as well. But just know that we're gonna try to refine it, that's not just teacher absences, it's all absences.
Any other questions? No, we'll continue.
Just, if you look at don't do it now, but in the back, we put the topic areas down, this is one of the topic areas, so I'm trying to manage that. So throughout the course of the year, we'll be able to bring those topics that we want to talk to the board about, and you wanted me to talk about too. So that's one of them. All right. The next is, you may, as you know, we started with your blessing the last week about the process for the pocket redistricting. And I included in your packet an action plan. And what I wanted to do tonight, not necessarily go over the action plan, but just note that in your view, if you look at the end, and keeping the end in mind, I was trying to, this is pretty aggressive, but I think we need to try to do this, have a special board meeting on the 2nd of November 9th, I believe is what we said right now. You look to the right there, you can, special board of education for approval on November, something.
That wouldn't be a special meeting, that's the second Wednesday in November. So
I gotta revisit that a little bit, I think that it's, oh, okay, I see what they did. But it would end sometime along in that November date, so that's not a special meeting, right? You're saying this?
no, those dates are
Regular
regular dates. The 22nd is a Tuesday, but that was scheduled in advance of Thanksgiving.
Okay,
Those are regular board meetings.
so as you see, we're beginning up on top in September. We're trying to move towards working with the principals. They're verifying all the information, and we probably will have a tentative in-house plan. So I'm going to need, the next step for us is for the, we're going to have the district-wide committee, I call it, away from the in-building, in-district planning committee. And then we'll start moving out to that group in terms of what we're thinking for feedback. And then we have a series of meetings that we will be attending and going into the schools to talk to parents of the affected schools. And then get that feedback and bring it back and see if we need any modifications of the plan, and then start bringing it forward to you for your information and decision-making process. I also finally got a hold of Mr. Prada. He's a demographer that used to work for the state to do all the projections. We hired him, as the board hired him 3 years ago to do the enrollment predictions, and now he's also reaffirming those numbers for us. But he can't start his work until after October 1st, the official date. So sometime at the end of October, we'll know, if we could verify the numbers that he had predicted. Right now, we're trending over the prediction than under the prediction. Okay. Bill, you want to add anything to that?
Just very, very briefly, we've been following the recommendations that were put forth in the Savin report. If you recall, way back when, I think it's 2007, it said alternate use of space. So the idea of Shelter Rock this year losing the art room, and that becoming another classroom, excuse me, and putting art on a cart is, it was a little bit dramatic this year for Shelter Rock, but we've done that in many other schools already. And we've been playing that out, following the Savin report recommendations. The other thing is losing space for the math specialists, for the reading specialists, for the ELL programs. We've tried to accommodate them in every way that we possibly could, but in some schools, space is really at a premium right now. And so we're hoping with the redistricting, the updated Dr. Prada report, and then the work from the 2020 task force in the long run, that we'll be able to deal with these things. It's kind of a moving target because you never know what the enrollment's going to be. And as Sal said, it's trending in one particular direction, which we anticipated. Outside of that, we're just really trying to manage this on a day-to-day basis.
If you look to the right, the idea here is that on October 24th, we have a a meeting at Great Plain at 6 o'clock, Shelter Rock at 7:30, Moore Street at 6, Pembroke at 7:30, and then Haystown at 6 o'clock, and Mill Ridge Primary at 7:30, in terms of getting feedback from parents. Okay, I think
One question I would have then, because it's related to that, is that the implication that these are the schools that are affected and only these schools are the ones that are affected. Is that the,
at this time, that's the way it looks, at this time.
and so that would imply that there's no impact at, say, Broadview Rogers Park, in terms of where people are districted. Is that still an open question, or is that not for this purpose?
No, not for this purpose. Not for this purpose, no. These are this is the in-house work that we did for where we think, you recall, we looked at the map of the district. These are the places that have room, and then the other schools, other than Morris Street, which we hadn't anticipated, they've come to the table now, that we need to redistrict kids from those schools to gain some space. The only thing I want to stress to the board when you're doing this, just so you be very mindful, this is probably a 2 or 3 year maybe solution to this thing, and the kids will remain at this school for 5. That was one of our criteria. Keep families together, try to keep neighborhoods together, allow the apex class to remain, for example, in this case, 5th grade, not to move them out if they don't want to go. At some point, we're going to have another building. But you know, we've said we're only going to control what we can, so the 2020 committee is doing their own work. That'll impact after we do this redistricting here for us. So that's the way we see it unfolding.
Mr. Janelli?
Sal, I think it's very important that we get as much publicity out there for these school meetings and presentations to the parents, so that we get as many parents as possible, and they can be, or to try to comprehend what we're doing, so that we get a good feedback. The other comment I have, I like Bill's words of alternate use of space. I had an opportunity the other day to be at Mill Plain, Mill Ridge, and also I've seen some photographs as to the Morris Street, and I just want to say that I commend the staff and the principals for the ingenuity and dedication that they've done to work with the parameters. And we haven't heard any of these staff members or principals come and complain to us. They just embrace the situation. They went ahead, used the ingenuity, took care of it, and I hate to use the word, they do more with less, but it's an incredible, incredible task that they do, and I applaud them. They did an excellent job, and it's a nice indication of the community working together, staff, parents, etc., working together in a uncomfortable situation until things turn around. So I think that's a positive.
Well, I'll pass that along to them. It is. If, just to note, my goal here, the plan that we have will be submitted to the study team, that's the big group, and I'll give it to the board at the same time as well. And hopefully we'll have it by October 3rd. And then the idea is that we'll meet again, feedback from the study team. Then we'll do a presentation to the Board of Ed with feedback on the 11th, and try to finalize the plan, and then go out to the schools. So it would have been staffed and had your eyes on it, gone to the parents, listened to them, maybe modify, bring it back to you, and then you could have some open meetings as well. When I read the reports that were done in the past, one of the things that keeps hammering to me, and everything I've read on this literature, is to make sure they're transparent, and that's what we're trying to do, without, not holding anything back relative to our issues, and just placing out there all of our warts, and then trying to do the best we can, but making sure that we have good participation.
So we should expect to see this draft in advance of the next board meeting. So this would be a discussion item on the next board.
That's my hope.
based on this calendar.
The other thing, that is my hope right now, we've looked at this tentative plan twice, the principals are vetting it. I have another meeting this Monday to relook at it, and hopefully we'll start moving forward from there. But that's my hope.
Thank you. Anything further?
Last, it's not on here, but corollary to this, we have the middle school folks that will be meeting. They're going to be facing challenges next year in terms of how to handle the enrollment increases. So we'll talk more about them at a later date. It's not on this chart necessarily, but that's another issue that we're trying to handle, that we've got to handle for the next 2 years particularly.
Thank you, Dr. Pasquarello. On for information this evening, the RPMS field trip to Puerto Rico, January 2012. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Mr. Matthias is here this evening. This will come up as an item to vote on at our next meeting, but if anyone has any questions regarding this trip, Mr. Matthias is here. Does anyone have any questions?
Introduce yourself.
And Mrs. Stevens is here too.
Welcome. Any questions?
I guess it just seems to me this is similar to what
It's
has in the
based
past,
on-
and it looks like it may take, one school day and maybe half a day? Is that
Right, it's the one school day and the one half a day, and we have to take the one school day because the students do attend school in Puerto Rico. And so,
Well, look at that as a school day.
And then
and they actually do attend classes, and they participate in
that's what I'm
classes.
saying. I'm looking at that as a school day, okay?
And sometimes we even get to
do that, and that half day is an extra half day in school.
It is, it's a half PD.
It's a half PD day here as well, so.
Any further questions for Mr. Janela?
Do you have a good feel that you'll have a good representation with the number of students going? I'm always surprised in this economy.
Actually, in the 4 years that we've gone, the size of the group has doubled.
Really?
Which, as you said, in these times it's interesting. Students that do want to go on it start planning in advance. The fundraisers that have been going on at the beginning of the school year, they have the banking process so that the students can use their monies that they've made in the fundraiser to go towards whatever trip they would like. We try to do some of our own fundraising, so we do try to offset a little bit of the cost as much as possible. But the students that if they're interested, they're interested. We're usually kind of surprised at some of the ones that come forward. We don't really try to solicit it. We provide information. It's a family decision. We can give information. Of course, we think everybody in the world should go, but we're going to buy. But it's really a family decision, and we really try to have the students understand that as well. But there's always a good buzz on it.
About how many would go?
Last year we took 22.
You took 22.
Anyone else? Mrs. Cooper?
Just a question, and I know it hasn't happened. What would happen, or what type of obligation will you be under if you have to cancel the trip?
If we were to cancel the trip, we do let the parents know right up front that because we do the arrangements entirely ourselves, we don't use a service.
Okay.
The airfare is usually non-refundable because that's the best way to get the cheapest airfare. The most that we would.
And the parents understand.
They do understand that, yes. We had a situation where a student had to cancel out of the trip last year. Fortunately, we had another student that was interested and was able to come forward and just basically buy out the other students, so that worked out well. But we do make that known, that it is really the airfare that they might lose.
Okay, thank you very much.
Have you looked into the travelers insurance for that, so they can rebook?
Well, we do have the traveler's insurance overall, lost luggage, flight cancellation, but if we cancel the trip from our end, it isn't covered by that piece.
It's not covered by the
Right,
insurance.
it would be like if the airline canceled the flight or the hotel lost our book, that type of thing.
Do you have any plans of visiting the rainforest?
Oh, yeah. We spend 2 nights actually in the rainforest.
You just stay in Connecticut for that.
True.
Okay. Anything further? Well, thank you very much for making
Thank you
yourselves
for doing
available.
it,
And we will have this on our agenda for the next meeting. Thank you. Also on for information, Richard Jalbert, Coordinator of Sites and Facilities. This looks like his background.
Yeah, no, he will be here, he started today. Go ahead.
Yeah, he actually came in today, and, come on here. He was somebody that came through the full application process and went through a screening and interview committee as well. And we're very excited to have him on board. He's got some experience in Region 16 in the school, in public school arena, and also as a former Aramark employee. He worked at University of Hartford and was responsible for not only oversight of the entire sites and facilities there, but also management. He's experienced with labor issues. I think he'll be very helpful to us in a lot of different areas. So we're very much looking forward to having him on board. He came in today, and he's starting the process of meeting people and getting involved as quickly as he can.
Thank you. Well, we left the room, but our superintendent's 11-12 goals for our information. I would assume we would need a meeting to review this in detail. Now is not the arena for that, but I would encourage you to look through the exhibit, and we'll schedule maybe a meeting of the superintendent's evaluation committee to review the goals in detail. And then board topics, I think the superintendent covered. Board chairperson's report. We talked about your goals, and then we're going to set up a meeting of the superintendent's evaluation committee to discuss in detail.
Okay, just to note, I don't want to bore you guys, but I do want you to appreciate I put on one sheet of paper. I've worked at that, they were all over the place in terms of pages, but we stayed with the 4 main goals again that we've had for consistency. The thing that I'm very excited about is the golden one, that is the protocol that was developed with the committee with Bill last year that visited Stanley Rough, and they've had tremendous success where we're going to apply that to these other schools in need of improvement. And we'll have the template here sometime this first quarter. And that one to me is very exciting. But what I wanted to bring to you is something, if you look at the last sentence, it says expand the Morris Street model. That model has been now in operation for how many years, Bill?
7.
7 years. And, we're to the point where we're going to utilize it for the other schools up on top. Now, the other schools are Title I, and Title I has really been reduced to the states and to the schools, and we take 10% off the top to give to tutoring agencies by law. One of the things we're going to have to do here is reallocate some funds to these schools in order to support some of the work that's done at Morris Street, that has been done in Morris Street. Morris Street could not continue to do what they did in the past because of the lack of funding in Title I. So we're going to be able to reallocate some money to them to do that. Last year we went through the budget, we kept talking about differentiating expend for schools that are in need of help, and that's what we're going to be able to do with this model. So that number one, if it comes to fruition, I really think the goal on top, as you see it, is try to stabilize our, not moving anyone else on that list of needing improvement, and hopefully we'll be able to bring at least one off that AYP list as safe harbor. The teacher evaluation is a big thing in the state of Connecticut. The Race to the Top money was put in and not approved by Washington, but that application caused a lot of new laws to be introduced and passed at the State House. Those laws are going to impact our teacher evaluation system with student growth, accountability, for everything for principals and for teachers. It probably is at least 2 years away, but we're starting now to get involved with producing a document that we're going to use for Danbury. And to me, that is one of the most important things that we can do. It's a document that will be growth-centered and one that will look at accountability from student success as well as other variables. And by law, we have to do that. Parent and community engagement, and that's you can read that. Engage parents in the community. We have some surveying. I'm kind of excited about that. Something different, and operation. And if you have any questions, I guess we'll do it at the...
We're going to set up a meeting to talk about this in more
Okay.
detail.
Thank you.
Board chairperson's report, Cape Convention's coming up in November. We're going to represent Danbury on the delegate assembly, which is where Cape puts together its platform, which is what they use to lobby our state legislature the following year. So I'm going to participate in that. And then item B, I'm also also on the state task force for vocational technical high schools. They had their first meeting this afternoon in Hartford, so I attended that. And we have a very big stake in this game, because from what I gathered, attending the meeting this afternoon, there's still a lot of momentum to try and transfer control of these schools to the local boards of education. And I think we really need to make sure that our interests are looked after here. I do get the sense that they're underfunded to begin with from the state, and the state's trying to solve a budget problem, but that's not going to help us in our budget problem, and it's not going to help the students of the vocational high schools. So I'm planning to be very active in that task force as they reach their conclusion. But as many of these task forces, some people have predetermined conceptions of what's going to happen, but we have to make sure that our interests are looked after. So they have 3 meetings scheduled between now and December. Most of the rest of their meetings are going to be held at some of the vocational high schools themselves to give us an idea of what goes on there. So I'll be attending all of those meetings as well. But as they develop their recommendation to the legislature, which would due January 15th, under the law, we're supposed to report back by that date what the recommendation is. I will keep you informed as that develops. But that could have a very severe negative impact both on the system itself and on our school district if we're forced to absorb. And just looking into it, Abitech's budget is about $8 million, which is probably something less than what they need to operate. But obviously, we don't have $8 million. So I'll keep you informed as that progresses. And then I'll just mention again, I did meet with the student reps at the high school last week to talk about how they can be more involved in some of the decisions that we make and suggesting topics that we may need to talk about. But really the spirit of the law that the state put out on student reps is that they're not just reporting out on the school dance. It's that they're the voice of the students, they're carrying what our message is to the students, and vice versa. So we'll stay tuned on that. But it was a very productive meeting that we had, or that I had with the student reps, the class advisors, and Mr. Boccaccio. So I think that was very productive. Board reports, ad hoc committee on Danbury High School, Mr. Janelle.
We met last night. Thought the meeting went very well. It was attended by Gary Boccaccio, Mike Clark, and Cindy Merishin, the union rep for the teachers. Mike Clark, of course, is assistant principal and represents the union for administrators, and Gary's the principal. In conclusion, in summary, is the 3 of those people came with a consensus that at Danbury High School, there's the silent majority that has no problem in the high school. Is that the minority is the one that was creating a lot of fuss, a lot of turmoil. Not to say that everything's perfect. We isolated a couple of issues, and if we tried to bring out yesterday a sort of a 2-pronged solution to how to go about this particular task. It was by that statement that there was a consensus of all 3 that let's focus on a criteria to build a character profile for the new principal. We're going to do that by trying to develop a survey and have this survey done online and have everybody participate in it. And I was very happy to hear that the majority of the people at the high school are happy to be there. The feeling is that the problem but the explanation that came forth to us last July by those that stepped up to the plate to sort of express their disinterest was somewhat frustration as well in terms of a tenure that was there and not knowing what was going to happen in the future with the recent departure of Dr. Rossi. So I think we got a good direction as to where we're going to go, and we'll follow through with that.
Thank you, Mr. Janelli. Sites and facilities, Mrs. Malaya.
We have not had a meeting, but I will get with Mr. Jalbert and see when we can meet.
Thank you. Community relations, Mr. Janelli.
Nothing.
Finance, we talked about finance. Policy, Mr. Townsend.
We will have a meeting, but we have to work it out because the state has passed more mandates on regarding bullying policy, which I believe our members of our cabinet attended a meeting on this. And as soon as Ms. Thompson's ready, we'll get to you, we'll poll members, we'll try to have a meeting that we can all attend.
Can I just add one thing? Right now, because there was such a wealth of information given to us by the presentation that we went to, those of us who attended and a bunch of other stakeholders are going to have our own meeting to try to debrief and figure out exactly how to triage getting some of these requirements done. So we're going to do that the week after this one, and then after that, we should be prepared with an facilities or different type of policy.
Thank you. Superintendent evaluation, we talked about that, we need to schedule a meeting to review the goals. Citywide PTO,
Meeting will be first Monday in October.
every Monday, every,
October
this Monday,
3rd.
yeah. District development, TDEC,
That's coming.
DSABC, education connection, magnet school.
We have a meeting scheduled for October 13th, 10 o'clock here at Legion.
Thank you. Oral health, school-based health, anything? Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the chair seeks a motion to move into executive session for the purpose of discussing updates on teachers and nurses negotiations.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Cooper, is there a second? Second by Mrs. Mullenhour. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? The board is now in executive session. Thank you very